Hi there, welcome back to my channel. This is Reflections by Jane. Today I've got another project for you using Alina Crafts stencil and a couple of stamp sets. So I hope you'll stick around with me and enjoy this video till the very end. So the stamp sets I'll be using are these two here. The Christmas tree and snowman one on the right side, and I'll be using the Merry Christmas sentiment stamp from the stamp set on the left. So here I just thought I'd do a quick run through of the stencils that you can get from Alina's store. I think there's about 12 in a pack of stencils, and they're all different, from floral to swirly patterns to sort of a baroque style. There's hearts, there's stars, there's spotty, there's all kinds of different patterns in these, and they are ideally for DL size cards. They're DL sized stencils, but you can use them for pretty much anything. Stencil a background, add detail to die cuts. You can use them for all kinds of different things. They don't necessarily just have to be for DL size or slimline size cards. So this is the stencil I'm going to be using. I'm using it as a spotty background, and as I'm making a Christmas card today, I thought this would be useful in being used for a sort of a snowy scene. So I'm just going to grab my gel plate, and you'll see in a moment how I use this stencil on my gel plate using some distress oxides. So this is the stencil I'm going to be using. I'm using it as a spotty background, and as I'm making a Christmas card today, I thought this would be useful in being used for a sort of a snowy scene. So I'm just going to grab my gel plate, and you'll see in a moment how I use this stencil on my gel plate using some distress oxides. So here I've got my brayer, and this is the Tim Holtz. I think this is the small one in the new range from Tim Holtz, and it's ideal for a small gel plate such as this one. This one measures about 6 inches by 6 inches. I've got a larger sort of 8 by 10 gel plate, but this one's just perfect for what I'm going to be using today. So these are the distress oxides I'm going to be using. So you've got shaded lilac, wilted violet, seedless preserves, and the new villainous potion. So they're all shades of purple and lilacs, and I'm just going to ink up my brayer like so, and then run it across the top edge of my gel press. So I'm just running that ink across there, just smoothing it out to get an even coverage. And then I've got a scratch piece of paper off to the right side where I can just clean off my brayer. Now whatever ink I transfer over onto this scratch piece of paper, I will use it. I will put that in my scrap box, and I will use it for die cutting, for stamping on. It won't go to waste. I shall just use it for backgrounds as such at a later date. So now moving on to the next shade of distress oxide. I think this one's the wilted violet, and again I'm just cleaning off my brayer with the excess. And I'm just going to repeat the process with seedless preserves and then with the villainous potion. And it's a good way of getting a nice ink blend without actually using brushes, and you get more of a sort of grungier feel to the background rather than a smooth ink blended effect. And the beauty of these distress oxides means that the ink stays relatively wet for a good length of time, so I don't have to worry about the ink drying out on my gel press. I've got quite a bit of playtime before that happens, so that when I lay the paper over the top of the ink, when I smooth it down, I still get a nice transfer of ink. So I've just got a 6x6 inch piece of cardstock here, and I'm just laying that evenly over the gel press and then smoothing my hand over that to get a nice smooth coverage. And you can also go in with your brayer as well, just to smooth that over, just to make sure, you know, all the cardstock is laid down and gets a nice coverage. So I'm just pressing that down a little bit more, and then when you get the reveal, I should just turn that over, and there you have a nice blend of colour. You can see the brayer marks, but I don't worry about that too much, because once I've gone on to the next stage, you will hardly notice. Okay, so now I'm just cleaning off some of the excess of that Distress Oxide with a baby wipe. I don't want there to be too much colour on there because I'm going to be using some white paint next. So now I'm just bringing in that spotty stencil and laying it down on my gel press. And here I've got some titanium white Arteza acrylic paint. And I'm just going to blob a couple of drops onto that stencil here and there, and then I'll smooth it out with my brayer. So now I'm just going to add another couple of drops of that white paint, just to create a bit of a snowy scene and you know, sort of a little bit of a snowy bank, shall we say, or snow drift. But when I put the cardstock down on the gel press, the white paint doesn't show up as well as I'd like. So I will go in and add a bit of extra white paint in a little while. So you could actually skip this step and just go and add the paint on a little bit later. Don't forget, as usual, all the products I'll be using today, I will drop the links to Alina's store in the description box below, so feel free to check them out. Don't forget to have a look at Alina's sale, which is happening on the 11th and 12th of November. So if you like something, drop it into your cart, but don't check out until the 11th of November, because you never know, you might save yourself a few pounds on your order. So I finished with my gel press for now, so I'm just putting it back into the packaging. I always store my gel presses like this because obviously it saves them getting damaged. They are quite a squidgy material and could be quite easily damaged, so I always store mine back in the original packaging. So now I'm going to continue with my background, and I'm just laying a bit of white paint down on my craft mat there, and I'm adding that snowy bank as I advised earlier. So I'm just using a flat end paintbrush just to add some of that acrylic paint, but the white acrylic paint does soak up some of that Distress Oxide, so it changes colour slightly. But once the effect is down on the paper and I've got the rest of the elements on, you'll hardly notice. So I'm just adding a bit more of that acrylic paint, and yeah, and then we'll move on to the next stage shortly. For a little bit of bling on this card, I'm using some stickles in Stardust, and just going to add some random spots of the glitter glue here and there over those white spots from the stencil. This will just give it a bit of extra pizzazz, I think, and make it look a bit more realistic with regards to some snow. So I've put that background to one side to dry, let that glitter glue have a chance to completely set before we add these elements. So I have pre-prepared some images that I've stamped out and die cut as well. Sorry, not die cut, I've fussy cut these out because there aren't any coordinating dies for these stamps, but they're pretty easy to cut out. So I've stamped and cut the Christmas tree, the snowman, 3 of the presents and 1 of the bows. And there are lots of other little elements within this stamp set that you can use to easily make a scene with, and you can make some really brilliant scenes with these. You could use your masking techniques to mask off areas and stamp. You know, you can do all kinds of different things. You can just heat emboss a single element and put on a card and it will look fabulous. You know, you're not limited. So I'm just going to do some quick colouring with these stamped images, and I have stamped in Memento black ink, and I'm just going to use some alcohol markers, just using some different colours just to tie in with the background. So I'm going to be using some teals and purples mainly in this card for these stamped images. So I think you'll agree that that snowman looks incredibly cute. I really love it holding his broom up like that. I just think it looks, yeah, he just looks so adorable. So I'm just going to add some of Alina's foam tape to the back of the stamped images, and then I'll adhere them to the card. So there's not really an awful lot going on from now on, but yeah, you'll just see me put the card together now. So I'm now just trimming this background down to 5 inches by 5 inches. So I'm just snipping off sort of 1/2 inch from each side of the card front. And then I will adhere this to a 6 by 6 card blank. Okay, so that's this card almost done. I'm just going to add a few more stickles here and there just to add a bit more bling, because you can never have too much bling on a card in my opinion. But hey, here goes. I'm just adding a few dots here and there just to finish it off, and all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for sticking with me today and enjoying around 20 minutes of content. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Like the video, drop me a comment, let me know if you'd like to see anything more, you know, along these lines in the future, and take care of each other, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.